Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I did want to post a video last week and I did create a video last week, but as I was playing it back, I couldn't post it. I was talking about how my anxiety and panic, etc., all that stuff that is part of my being. And at the end of the video, I was saying like, I get so frustrated because I know what I tell other people that are suffering with it, and yet it's so hard to put into practice myself. At the end, I just said, I don't know what to do to change it. And I heard myself and I thought, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there's this one connection that I'm missing. There's something that I'm missing. And in that video, I thought, you know what? I need to stop thinking that everything's a pity party when I share how I feel, with my struggles. I come from an era where you just don't speak about stuff. You're just grateful for what you have, and somebody could have it worse. But that doesn't change the fact of how I live my life in anxiety, in panic, etc. And so I thought what I'm going to do is, the name of my video or the name of my channel is going to be called My Midlife Studio, because I'm just going to share. I'm just going to be honest. I hope it doesn't come across as a pity party. And if it does, I'm sure it will resonate with some other people that maybe feel that too, that they don't want to share. I'll give a quick example. The girls surprised me the other day at work. I have a part-time job that I'm really loving. And I got it because I need to get out of the house. It's not good for me just to be at home and work in my studio. So I got a part-time job, and I think I may have mentioned it in a previous video. I think I did actually. And they surprised me and had a birthday cake for me after work. And I was determined for nobody to know it was my birthday, because I'm very uncomfortable when attention is put on me. I did a really, really good job of not showing how uncomfortable I am, but it's really hard for me, like extremely hard. And I don't know if that I'm assuming it has something to do with my self-worth. And that's where my adoption story comes in. I was adopted by two incredibly wonderful people, very different from my biological roots. You can really tell that just I still think that there's something to do with the way we're created. We still carry some characteristics, etc., from our biological parents, and sometimes it doesn't match that well with your adoptive parents. I was a real rebel. I was a brat. Now I look back, and it doesn't help going back on that, but I realized that a lot of it was just because I felt like I was lost. So I figured I would share. I'll probably do it in two different weeks about my adoption story, because it's crazy. Like, it's bizarre. When I talk about it or when I think about it, I'm just like, wow, it's crazy how the stars have aligned and just how it came to be. It's just, I should write a book about it. It is so incredible, to be honest. And I knew all my life that I was adopted. I was adopted at 6 weeks old. I landed up I had my 3 children, and I told my parents that I would like to find my adopted or my biological parents, just because of health reasons, etc., because I wanted to know if there was anything that I should be concerned about. And they were 100% for it. And it just so happened my father, he had looked like a toolbox. My dad was a carpenter and had a toolbox, and it had information. It had my birth information. It had how many sisters my father had, how many sisters and brothers my mother had, etc. and it showed what my mother had wanted to do, what her career path was in life, and she had wanted to be a hairdresser, which is bizarre because that's what I was. And then it also said that I had another, or was it, did I find out after? No, then. So what happened then was I contacted Child and Family Services, and they told me it would take 7 years for them to help me find for me to be in, for it to be my turn. You have to wait 7 years. So what I did was, because I knew the last name, it's just bizarre that it was there. I knew my birth name, and then my father had written what my name was at birth, and so I wrote out all the people in my province with my last name that I had been given at birth, and I had over 400 names that I could call. So I called the name on the first on my list. And it was really interesting because when I talked to Child and Family Services, the gentleman I spoke to, he kept saying, you need to look around this certain town. No, keep looking around that, close to it, not that town, but close to it. He couldn't tell me because he just couldn't at the time, I guess. I'm not sure. But he was giving me all sorts of hints. So then I called the first name on my list, and they were saying, oh, you know, that name, those people came across from the ocean, they came and they changed their names. And oh, there was such a big, it kind of put the fear in me that it was going to take a long time. I'd have to wait the 7 years. So then I called another number, and this number, I'm going to get goosebumps. This number, the gentleman lived about 25 minutes from my home, and I called him and I said, hey, this is this is my name. I am looking for my birth mother, and you have the same last name as what she does. And he says, oh, I actually know exactly who you are. And I was like, pardon? Like what? And he says, yeah, I'm gonna put you in touch with your uncle, because I'm not gonna give you her name just in case she does not want to meet you. So I said, okay, I totally understand that. So I called my uncle and I told him who I was, and he said, your mom's always been hoping that you would contact her someday. So I called her, and she was over the moon, and she told me I had a brother and a sister, twins, and I think they're 13 years younger than I am. And can you believe her due date was on the day of my birthday? She did have them 2 weeks early, but it was on the same day of my birthday. And she said she had never seen me, but she definitely gave me up for very good reasons. I think it's the best thing that could have happened to me. It gave me the best chance, to be honest, at life. And so I met her, and then she told me who my father was, and I contacted him, and I went and met him. He was in a city near my home, and he was also worked with wood, just like my adoptive dad. And I walked into his office, and he goes, wow, you look just like my family. And it was such a strange feeling for somebody to say, like, I actually fit somewhere. I didn't realize, like, no, that's not true. I always realized I didn't fit in, always. I always felt like I didn't fit in. I always felt like I just didn't belong where I was, even though obviously that was my path and it was my journey. So I did belong there. And so yeah, I met him as well. He had 2 children. I met his wife at the time. Her name is the same name as mine, which was really interesting. And to this day, I'm still in contact. This is many years later, and I'm still in contact with my biological sisters. He had a girl and a boy. My mother had a girl and a boy. So at that time, I was cutting hair in my local community, and I was cutting a gentleman's hair, and he asked me if I was related to this particular family. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, I had talked to my dad the week before. At that time, I hadn't actually even met him. And he said, is your birth date the day that my birth date is? And I said, yes. And I'm like, what the heck? How do you know this? And he said, I was your father's best friend in school. And he says, I knew that you are his daughter that he gave up, because he says, you remind me 100% of their family, your actions, etc. Goes back to what I said at the beginning, that I always felt like I was different because you still have those characteristics that come from your family. And I had, years before, I had gone and I'd gotten a treatment. It's like, it's not Reiki, but they call it body talk, and they just do different things with your body. And I had so much anxiety and so many issues. And I just cut my hair, so it's driving me crazy seeing myself in the monitor here. And they asked me why I have so much rejection in my body. And I was like, what are you talking about? They didn't know that I was adopted. They didn't know anything about it. And they said, they talked about how they could see that there was a situation where they could see a lot of rejection that had happened when I was still, they said, in the womb at about 3 months. My mom was about 3 months pregnant. And I'm like, oh, that is so, ooh. It was just, no, that was just something I was not receptive to, because I thought that was just so bizarre. And when I did meet my mom, I did mention to her, I said, what happened to you when you were 3 months pregnant? I think it was 3 months pregnant, if I'm right. And she says, that's when your father and that's when he told me he didn't want to have a child, and he wasn't interested in being with me and with her anymore. And I said, where were you? And she says, we were at the beach. And I'm like, whoa, that's okay. I just left it at that. Another thing that I should quickly say is what happened when I did meet my mom. At the time, my husband dropped me off, and I'm not a big jewelry person. And I had showed my husband a ring, a birthstone ring that I would love to have, because I just always thought birthstone rings were so special, and especially if you get them from a parent, or a daughter's pride ring, whichever, birthstone, daughter's pride ring. My birthday's in July, so I showed him this one ring. And when I went to meet my mother, on the table was this ring, exactly. And she knew nothing about it, because obviously she hadn't talked to my husband. And an hour later he came, and I said, look at this ring. And he was like, he couldn't believe it. And I mean, things like that have happened all through the years. So there's so many more situations that I want to share, but I also don't want this video to go on too long. But I realize now how this all impacted my life and who I am today. And I realized when I was making that video last week that I didn't post, I think me talking to you, and maybe I resonate with one other person, or I can maybe create some friends. I'll create this incredible family here on YouTube. It just gives me a chance to speak and not always have that fear that I'm being judged by what I'm saying, and that I'm having a pity party, because I don't have to be watched. If somebody doesn't want to listen, they don't have to. And in my mind, that's great, because then, oh, at least I won't be wasting their time. And that's something that I'm hoping with time I will get past. I'm not getting any younger, and I want to at least be able to have some freedom in my later years of life, because I've always carried this with me for the last, well, over half of my life, I guess. And yeah, I always put on a face, and that everything's great, and that I have no struggles. And I have comments where, oh, you've got it so together, and you're always so nice, and you're this and you're that. And sometimes in the back of my head, I say, man, if you only knew how much my heart hurts or how sad I am inside. And I think that I think sharing that with other people, because that's my life. And the thing is, you shouldn't feel bad. I mean, this is my journey. So as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, well, that's so dumb, Carol. Like, honestly, share your journey. This is what it was. This is how you felt. This is what it was. As I'm saying that, I'm realizing that, hey, this is how it was. So I'm going to create a part 2 for next week. And I'm kind of excited to share all of this. And then we will get into my studio. I have an Etsy shop that I want to share that I've had for almost 10 years. I'm going to do markets in Winnipeg. And I just want to take you along for the journey. We're going to sew. We're going to do whatever. And we're going to go check out Winnipeg. And some days I'll be making bags or making whatever I'm making. And I'll be doing it in it'll be maybe my anxiety, getting rid of anxiety tote bag for the day. It's just gonna be the way it is. And I'm excited to share it because already I realize now that everybody's story is important. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't sound perfect, and it shouldn't always sound perfect. And at least I'm willing to share, and I want to get past that part of always feeling that I should be in the background. And it's really strange because I'm so not like that. Like, I'm the one that's out there, but I think it's my anxiety that does that. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, I'm going to do the next part. The next part's going to be, it's really interesting. Oh my gosh, just totally blew my mind. Like, if I think about it, I'm just like, how is this even possible? Like, I don't know. It's crazy how it even, the situations that happened that all put it together and just made me who I am. Like, it's just bizarre finding a footing in this world. And yeah, and I'm gonna grab onto that footing. So for now, I'm going to let all of you go. We have gotten our landscaping done the last couple of days. We have had quite a bit of rain, and my partner, he's taking the day off early today, and we're going to go to Home Depot and we're gonna grab a few things that we need. Probably go get a coffee. I wanna go buy some gingham. I wanna make some little market type bags with different fruits, different vegetables, etc., and some baskets and stuff. I'll share all those ideas with you. So yeah, I have a lot to share. I'll just have to write it down because the menopause brain just keeps on going. But anyway, have a good week, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.